What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Spotlight by CG Ruthless. Let's welcome my special guest from Ohio University, offensive lineman Christophe Atkinson. Man, how's it going, bro?
I'm doing well. How are you, CG? Quite the intro there. I love the video.
Oh, thanks, man. Much appreciated, man. But for those people who are not familiar with you, man, tell me about yourself.
Yeah. So what's up, everyone? My name is Christophe Atkinson. I was originally born in Munich, Germany. Moved to the States when I was 2, and I grew up in Leesburg, Virginia. From there, because my parents aren't American, I wasn't really brought up around football a whole lot. I was actually a swimmer, believe it or not, maybe 150 pounds ago, and I played a lot of soccer. And then from that point, something about football I was just always drawn to. I'm a bigger guy, and I definitely was a bigger kid, so a contact sport was something I was always drawn to, something I always wanted to do. And it took some convincing with my mom especially, but by that time, with some help from my dad and some family friends by the name of Billy Davis, who actually played in the league for a little bit with the Cardinals, I was able to play football, and this is kind of where the journey is going from there.
Oh, yeah, for sure, man. So what got you into football in the early part?
Yeah. Honestly, CG, that's a great question. I have no idea, other than just something in me kind of always drew me to the sport. Honestly, like I said, I didn't grow up watching football, but on my kindergarten dream sort of mural that they have you write down, like, what do you want to do for your pro career? What's your favorite food? What's your favorite color? Those kinds of things. I wrote professional football player, not even having watched a lot of football. So maybe it was meant to be, maybe God has a bigger plan, a bigger picture for my life, but that's just kind of what happened, I suppose.
I guess that was a dream since kindergarten. So they asked you what's your favorite thing, and you just put you want to be a professional football player.
Yeah, I suppose so.
I guess that's memories that can last for right there. But hey, you're just another step away from that dream, man. So you played college football throughout the COVID year, right?
I did, yes, that is correct.
So you said 6 years, correct?
Yes, I played college football for 6 years, actually being on the field for the past 4. Yeah.
Okay, the past 4 at Ohio University. So what do they usually had you play, like guard or tackle or center, or what other position they throw you out there for?
Right. Mostly within the interior. So I've played both right guard and left guard, as well as a couple snaps at center. Yeah.
Okay, so you do got some versatility. That's what most teams like, is somebody who can be plugged in and play.
Absolutely. That's the goal, to be a multi-tool at whatever they need me to do on the field.
So have you met with any other NFL teams or no?
Yeah, especially after Pro Day, we had a lot of great conversations with a couple of the scouts that were there. So we've been able to be in touch with a couple of the teams, yes, sir.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so was there a team you grew up watching that you would love to play for?
That is a great question, CG. I honestly, at this point, I just want to go and be a part of and help, be a part of any team that is willing to have me on board. I don't think at this rate it's, my place to really choose who I would prefer to be on. There is no team that would specifically stand out for me, because as I said, I didn't grow up watching football, didn't grow up watching sports in that regard, like, college football or NFL. So, I don't really have any strong ties towards one team or another. And I was telling my agent kind of jokingly that for me, it kind of becomes a logistical decision if it comes down to that, may it be where I might get taxed the least, or where I'm going to be able to develop most as a player, where they want me, where they need me. There's just kind of those kinds of things that I think tie into it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I can understand where you're coming from, but now that you're kind of been, since you've been playing college football, you had to at least study some film on other NFL players. Who do you watch mostly to improve your game on?
No, absolutely. I think if we're looking at more recent players, I would probably say the Kelsey brothers, especially the center going in there at for the Eagles. I like to see his game. I know he's not necessarily the biggest offensive lineman, but his technique, his drive, his ability to use his hands and dominate on the field is something that I definitely see as, very, very important for us to be able to develop. But if we're looking at maybe older players, I know I watched quite a bit of Larry Allen highlights. He played for the for the Cowboys, and he was just a freak. He was incredibly strong. I think at one point they said that he was benching upwards of 500 pounds. But on the flip side of it, I mean, he was an incredible athlete chasing down, DBs on a pick whenever his feet were completely standstill, so he was just an absolute animal out there. And I think that would be something that I'd love to be able to incorporate more into my game.
Yeah, and he came from a very small school too, so that's like
true.
Yeah, strong individual. Who would have thought that guy could move and actually just demolish people? He looked like a pro wrestler out there.
Yeah, he was a freak for sure.
So watching somebody like Larry Allen, that kind of gives you good pointers right there, like somebody you can just learn techniques from. But so outside of football, who are you as a person?
Yeah, I think that I have definitely a lot of wide ranging of interests and hobbies and things that I like to do, especially coming from Ohio University. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been to Athens, but there isn't a whole lot going on. It's very much a small town, a college town. I think upwards of 20,000 people, which is not huge. I mean, it's definitely smaller schools, but in my free time, I mostly like to build stuff, work with my hands. I'm a woodworker, a metal worker. I definitely love arts and crafts and just like building and being creative. To go along with that, I have an awesome girlfriend and dog, Lexi and Gus. Shout out, guys. But they're really awesome and fun. So getting to go on walks with my dog and just hang out at home. But also being a part of like the team Bible study and going to church. We have a great church community in Ohio. Shout out Oasis. But no, it's awesome. It's fantastic. I get to watch on Sundays. So I think there's just a lot of things that I'm interested in, a lot of great things that I think I can bring to the table with creativity and, those kinds of things.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So how do you study for your upcoming opponents when you face them?
Right. In terms of, I'm assuming you're talking about football, right?
Yeah, football-wise, I'm pretty sure when it comes to college, you got to study a little bit more and watch your opponents to see what they do on those matchups.
No, absolutely. It was definitely a lot of film study. My coach at Ohio University was very heavily focused on film study. So not only were we doing extra meetings as center and offensive linemen, but we also would get together by ourselves and break down their pass rush moves, how they handle certain blocks, what kind of defense do they run, looking at the contour of the safeties to see if they're more likely to blitz in this scenario, and then understanding the down and distance, and then tying that in with personnel. So, we kind of had a very holistic approach to looking at defense and then also the individuals. We had multiple different study guide sheets, which kind of listed out, this is the block, how do they face that? This is the block, how do they face that? And you're looking at film by play breakdown of each opponent. And so we were kind of put in a position to really, really heavily focus on those players. And that's kind of how we prepared.
Okay. At least you put the preparation, you go with that kind of mindset. You look at what's the weak spot and all that, or see what they do best, what you can take away from them. Yeah. So let's go with common sense and see how you deal with stuff, because most NFL GMs are probably scouting. They probably like to look at how players react. So how do you react with a quitter on your guys' football team?
Okay, so you're talking about someone that just gives up, doesn't want to be a part of the team.
Unexpectedly on the game, during a game, he just comes out, just walks out, and you guys just didn't see it coming.
Yeah, that's definitely a hard situation. And I think that you have to definitely look at the individual, who they are. There's some of my teammates, like some of the guys on the O-line, that you just need to get up on them and be like, hey, come on, man, let's lock in, let's go. And you just, kind of push them around a little bit. You kind of pop them on the pads and get their head back on straight. But that's not the approach that works for everyone. Sometimes, they might have something going on. Football is a game. I mean, we all love it and we all want to be a part of our lives. But at the end of the day, that's not necessarily the most important thing. So maybe they have someone that passed away in their family and they're dealing through something, or they're going through something that's really difficult, and that's not going to help them lock in. So you might have to, talk to them and be like, hey, look, I understand that you're going through something. I'll be there for you, when the game's done, even during the game, but we got to get going, man. I'll lift you up and help you get back on your feet, but we got to go. You know what I mean? So it takes different approaches for different players.
Yeah, there's different situations, like you said, like family tragedy, or just maybe they're just not in the right mind mentally. So it's like you can't judge a person unless you see what they are. If they're just really just like, it can just be mental breakdown for them personally.
No, absolutely, CG. I totally agree.
Yeah. So let's say you guys are like, in the sidelines, you guys have one bad series, but what happens if a certain teammate in the sideline with the altercation are just not on the right page, man? They're just having some miscommunication, like a quarterback and a wide receiver. How do you separate the situation to make it less of an issue?
Yeah, well, I think, most of those come from a lack of communication, right? They're obviously not on the same page. They're not in a correct mindset. So first you got to like de-escalate the situation, kind of spread them apart if they're, especially football, things can get hot and get physical very quickly, So you definitely got to set them apart from each other and sit them down and be like, hey, look, guys, like, I know what's going on. I know it's not where we want to be, but, we have to get our heads on and move forward. It's like a one play mentality. Just that one play doesn't affect the next one. You got to clear it. You got to move on. I don't know if you've watched Ted Lasso at all, but he talks about having the mindset of a goldfish, which is really small. So you just got to forget whatever's happened and move forward. And I think that's something that, you have to be able to implement in your game, is to forget whatever's going on and move forward.
Yeah, you got to just move on with the next play and all that stuff. So let's say you guys are down by multiple touchdowns going into halftime, but what would be the best pep talk to get this team to come from behind?
Yeah, I think specifically for our team, as a unit, as an offensive line, for us, it was more so that taking the approach of it's 0-0, to not worry about the score and go out there and perform to the best of our ability and put everything that we have on the table, kind of leaving no regrets. So for us, it was more heavily focused on, showing that team what we can do, what we're made of, not worrying about what that scoreboard says, but going out there and playing to the best of our abilities. So it would be something along the lines of that, trying to make sure that everyone's on the same page, everyone's ready to move forward. No one's worried about the scoreboard, but they're just going out there to do their job. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. See, you got to let it go one play at a time. Do you guys want it or not? 2 more quarters, man. There's still anybody's ball game. But but all right. So, like, why should NFL teams draft you, man?
That's a fair question. I think I definitely have a lot to offer. I'm, as we discussed earlier, I'm a multi-tool. I'm an individual that can be put in any position, especially on the O-line. I played a little tight end in high school. I don't know if they're going to look at me for that. Obviously, probably not. But, I think that, I'm a guy that is there to uplift the team, uplift other people around him. I know that, especially on my team at Ohio, a lot of guys said that they'd never met anyone like me before. And they said that positively. So I'm always there to like lift other guys up, make sure that I put others before me. I kind of lead with a servant leadership mentality, putting other guys up, lifting them up, making sure that they're okay. And then, having them do their job is what's important for the team. So I think that I'm a player that is willing to do whatever it takes to help bring that team to the next level. And, whatever team is in the cards for me, I'm just going to go there and perform to the best of my ability and put that next foot in front of the other and do what I can to help that team prosper, help the guy across from me prosper, help the whole culture prosper, bring positivity.
Oh, yeah. I can just tell from your versatility and plus the way you seem like as a person, you seem like a very uplifting kind of guy. And like you just said, the way your teammates describe in Ohio, it seems like a positive thing. You're more of a spiritual kind of guy, more uplifting, more encouraging. So that's something you need in the locker room for sure.
Absolutely. That's my goal.
Yeah. So let's do some rapid fire. So let's say you're in the middle. Let's say you're in the middle of nowhere. You know, choose between McDonald's or Burger King, man. What would you choose?
I'd probably choose Burger King.
Oh, yeah. Have it your way, man. That's
Have it your way for sure.
Yeah, I like the Charbroil burgers. I usually
like
you? Whoppers.
What would you do, CG?
If I was stuck in the middle, I'd probably go with Burger King.
Burger King. Good choice.
Because I get McDonald's on every other breakfast, man. I get tired of it.
For sure.
Oh, yeah. But what about let's say you had to choose between Walmart or Target, which would be your go-to place?
If I'm with my girlfriend, it'd probably be Target. But we don't actually have a Target in Athens, so I'd probably have to go with Walmart. It's always there.
Okay,
It's
so they don't have a Target. Damn, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But I guess Target would be the go-to for you and for your girl, so that makes
Yeah, for
sense.
sure.
But I guess since it's pretty much Walmart, I guess you have to go with Walmart by
I go with
default.
Walmart. Mm-hmm.
By default. So, so what's like your backup plan as far as major and all that in college?
Yeah, so in college, I did my undergrad in exercise physiology. I selected that major, if we're being completely honest, because I love working out, and I was just pumped to learn about muscles and how to create hypertrophy and different types of training methods. And I thought that's what I wanted to do with my life. Anyway, fast forward 5 years of going through an incredibly rigorous curriculum, which is exercise physiology at Ohio University, was pretty much a pre-med course I took my biologies, my chemistries, my human anatomy, my physiologies, and it was absolutely brutal. I remember one summer I was going through fall camp, waking up at 5 a.m., going to practice, getting out of practice, then going to class for my human anatomy course. And then from that window, I had class, and then I ate, then I went back to class, then I had meetings till like 10, and I was back up again at 5 a.m. with some studying afterwards. So it was actually insane. But I was able to manage that and pull through a very difficult curriculum while also performing well on the field. And then I kind of looked at, what options I had with XPhys. And unfortunately, exercise physiology doesn't necessarily offer a lot of great outlets with that as my undergrad degree. I could go be an exercise physiologist in a lab, and I'm kind of a people person. I like to speak with people. So being stuck in a lab didn't seem like the most fun for me personally. Or I could be like a strength and conditioning coach, but nothing wrong with that. I love working out, but something about it, I was just like, I could have done that with an online course, right? So in order to diversify my portfolio, I kind of picked up an online MBA or MSM program at Ohio University to try and grow what I can do. And with that tied in with my ex-phys degree, I feel as though I'd like to maybe pursue something in the realm of medical business, be that medical device sales, be that like operating in a hospital. At the end of the day, I think I do want to help people. Be that with my free time, if I'm in the NFL, or if I'm not in the NFL, then I can do that as a job. So being able to help people and run some sort of medical business would be optimal, I think.
Well, you're on your way. You're getting ahead of the game. So at least you have that as a backup plan. So like you said, regardless if you're in the NFL or not, you're still going to do that either way.
Right.
So let's just say, for many years of college, what can you take into that going into the NFL that you need to improve on the most?
In terms of my game?
Yeah, your game, like what you got to improve on, because you're going into the NFL and it's got to be
Right.
some kind of area that you need to work on.
No, absolutely. I think for me, the biggest thing that I definitely have to work on is being able to, we did a lot of film study, right? We did a lot of film study and we did a lot of breaking down, but a lot of that was with our coach, if we're being honest. We did some as a team, like individually, as a group, but, being able to really break down a player is something that I'd like to improve upon. Being able to watch film efficiently and effectively by myself. I think that I'm really good at it and breaking down film, and I got all those things of how the player plays, but I think there's a lot of it's a huge dichotomy of how a player is. The first snap of a series is completely different to their mid-game snap, completely different to their last game snap, and I feel like that's something that is paramount at the next level, is being able to completely understand your opponent, no matter the situation, no matter the down or distance. I mean, if it's raining, if it's snowing, if it's sleeting, how does that guy play? And I don't think that we fully dived into that as a unit at Ohio, but I think that's something that I need to be better at, is completely breaking down a player in the situation that I'm going to be facing him in, So tying in players that are similar to me, how does he play them? Just being better at doing that.
Oh yeah. So why do you feel the future next student, whoever wants to go to Ohio University, why should they go there?
Right. Well, we actually had a huge coaching change, so I can't speak too much about the program now because it's very different from what I was a part of. I feel like that's the biggest thing of a program is definitely the staff. But if I was to speak with any rising star or any rising college player or a high school player looking to go to college, I would definitely encourage them to go to a program that they feel as though that program appreciates them, that program wants them to be there. They're going for the program as well as what they want to study and not a coaching staff, because a coaching staff can change at the snap of a finger, right? So I feel like at Ohio University, one of the biggest things that I found comforting and awesome was just the guys I was with. The room, especially in the O-line room, was just so positive, so awesome that, we had transfers come in and say they've never been a part of a room like that. The fact that the guys seem to generally care about each other. So that was something that I feel like set us apart.
Okay. So, I mean, that would be convincing for some of them to come if you had to recruit. So, I mean, different kind of environment, different culture, kind of a family type of vibe over there. And like you said, there's a career path towards outside of the sport. I mean, outside of the sports world. So you at least have something to look forward to. So
it's true. Yeah. And we also win games. If we're being honest, it's always good to go to a program that wins. The past 3 seasons, we've won 10 plus games, and this last season we actually won our conference championship. So going out of MAC champion is pretty cool.
So for all those years at Ohio University, man, so what's like your best game and who was the toughest opponent you faced?
Oh, that's a good question. I honestly feel like I'm assuming you mean in the game, because we had some guys because we had some guys on our D line, like for instance Rodney Matthews. I don't know where he's at the moment, but the dude was a freak. He was a good player. He was the good combination of strength and speed, but he was a part of Ohio's defensive line. But I played against CJ West. I think he was at Kent State at the time whenever we played them. So he was a really good opponent. I think he went to Oklahoma, if I'm not
Indiana.
Or Indiana. Yeah, sorry, excuse me. Indiana.
Oh yeah, he's definitely considered moving up draft boards from the looks of it. I mean, I even interviewed one of his teammates, and they were just talking how good this guy is.
Yeah, he's a good player. It's kind of funny that he went with my old roommate, Curtis. Curtis was actually my roommate at Ohio for 3 years, or two or 3 years. So it's kind of funny to see them together. But yeah, in terms of my best game, I feel like, especially this year, one of my better games. Well, I was nominated or voted by PFF as the best right guard in the country for week 11, I believe. So maybe that's my best game. But I definitely think that every game I show a little bit of passion. I show how I play. I play physical. I was fortunate enough for the past 2 years to lead our offensive line room in knockdowns or pancakes. So I definitely am a physical player, and every game I just go out to try and show how I play football, try to dominate, and I try to make every game my best game.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's what they look at, like pancake defenders and all that stuff. And the way you were playing at that competition, it doesn't matter where they play. The NFL will find you regardless.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's just a lot about you playing at a small competition. People would just be blown away. But I guess if you can play against any other competition, it shouldn't matter, right?
No, absolutely. I think there's definitely something to be said about, guys that come from smaller schools. I think that, it's not necessarily the most flashy of conferences. It's not the most eye-catching, but there's some guys that can ball. You know what I mean? There's guys that can go out there and get the job done. They don't have to be at the biggest school, but, those guys will be found. So.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, man. So what's your plans going into the NFL draft as far as your training and all that other schedules you got in mind?
No, absolutely. The training never stops, and I love that. I love working out. I love training. I'm actually looking at working with an offensive line coach at the moment to work on some of the skills and techniques that, they want to see. They want to make sure that you're crisp at all that stuff, especially at O-line, which is a very technical position. So at the moment, I'm working out at least once or twice a day. There are, of course, off days. You can overtrain, but I'm looking at working out once or twice a day. I like to take my dog on walks, so I kind of throw that into the training. But no, doing a lot, working on my speed, working on my flexibility, working on my strength, working on my mobility, because all of that stuff is important, especially for an offensive lineman. So,
oh yeah, you got to make sure you balance it pretty well, and you don't want to get your body to beat or wear a little bit. So,
no, absolutely. Also, the nutrition side of things.
Yeah, nutrition side. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to be at home at the moment. My mom's a great cook. So we ate some great food tonight. I know that you texted me about hopping on potentially early, but I was stuffing my face, so to speak, of my mom's great cooking. But, so whenever I'm in Athens, I have to cook for myself. But I think I do an okay job at that too.
Well, at least it's good to go visit your family. I mean,
yeah, it's always good to be home. It's always good to see my mom and dad. They're awesome. They're great people. Shout out mom and dad.
Yeah, they must be really proud of who you are today, and at least you can live out the big dream,
No, it is funny that you say that. Yes, of course they are super proud, but they're also proud of my sister, and it kind of ties into the kindergarten storyboard that I was talking about. So she on her kindergarten storyboard wrote that she wanted to be a doctor. And right now she's doing her residency in Arizona because she's graduated medical school and she's going to be an emergency physician. She's going to be a doctor. Yeah. So it's kind of like, well, now the pressure's on me because I wrote on my storyboard that I wanted to be a professional football player. So if she can make her dream happen, then I got to make mine,
Ooh. So let's just say during draft day, what would your reaction be when you if or when you get drafted by an NFL team? What would be your reaction to it?
Oh, I'm sure it would be explosive to say the least, right? I'm sure it would be a moment of almost like my soul leaving my body. It would be like electrifying. I'm sure you could imagine it. To hear your name be called on national television would just, it would mean the world to you. It would mean the world to me. It would feel like it was an unreal moment. It would probably one of those things that, unfortunately, whenever the good Lord calls you home, you'd probably at least have it flash before your eyes. You know what I mean? It would definitely be a moment to remember.
Yeah, it'd be a moment. But does this feel like surreal or business as usual to you?
At the moment, like with the training and stuff, it's definitely got an air of serenity to it. But I feel like at the moment I'm still kind of locked in on business mode. I don't have time to. Obviously, you need to take some time and take it all in. But at the moment, I'm very focused on what I have to do to make those steps. It's not enough to try and coast at this point. I still have to keep accelerating. I still have to keep getting better. So I'm still focused on what I have to accomplish.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. So has there been any other NFL players who have reached out to you and give you some advice for the next level?
Unfortunately, I don't have the most connections with current offensive players or defensive players or NFL players for that matter. There are a couple guys that I know playing professional ball, but I unfortunately haven't been able to be in contact with them.
So I guess it's just one of those looks, I guess. I mean, it happens.
Yeah.
But you'll find your way. You'll find your purpose. I mean, you'll find a way to get in. So it's just how you go. But yeah, dude. So it seems like all that hard work that you put all those years in college, man, it's gonna finally pay off, and you're gonna finally be able to live out a dream that you had since you were kindergarten.
Yeah, it would be surreal. It would be fantastic.
Yeah, it would be. I mean, for most kids, they be dying for that position, man. They'd be like saying, "Man, I wanted to play pro football too," and I'm like, dude, it's just everybody's been wanting to live that dream. So, when did you? Yeah, what?
Oh no, absolutely. I actually somewhat play for the kids that have had those dreams, or the kids that have not been able to play football or pursue their sport. I actually, whenever I was swimming, I trained Special Olympics kids, right? So kids that had special needs, had some sort of ailment. And just seeing those kids come to their sport and give everything that they had, train as hard as they did to, have those dreams. And it's just like, it's a moment of that you feel kind of convicted, that you're like, I've been given so much. I've been blessed with like a body that works, a mind that works to the best of its ability, and they don't necessarily have that, but they're still going out there and training really hard and working really hard towards their dreams. So, I just feel as though, why not make the most of your opportunities?
Yeah, make the most of your opportunities. But when did you feel that the game got slower playing at Ohio University?
When did the game get slower? For me, I feel as though when I got into college, the first couple of years were definitely fast. It always is fast for everyone. But after you get your first snaps in the game, you kind of realize what's going on. And I think from that point onwards, after your first game, everything kind of slows down. I think that's partially due to the fact that your adrenaline isn't pumping nearly as much as it was the first time you get in, or, you're able to see straight now, or you have already gotten your welcome to college football hit. But probably after my first snaps or first game is whenever everything slowed down.
Oh yeah, I guess you got the feel of it with the first snap, and it became a natural, huh?
I wouldn't say that. It was more so the fact that, you're surrounded by, especially on the offensive line, you're surrounded by a great support network. You all have to work together. You're all there to uplift each other and support each other. And it's a position group that, you need that camaraderie. So I feel as though you have your first snaps and the guys next to you are, patting you on the back, slapping you in the helmet, being like, good job, let's keep going, So it helps the game slow down if you're surrounded by a good group of guys.
Oh yeah, for sure. So as an offensive lineman, how do you deal with a player that just on an opposing team that just wants to get under your skin? Like, how do you deal with them? Like, they're going to be a little tactic. They're going to try to cost you a penalty here and there, man. It's like, we got to learn to control our emotions at times.
Absolutely. I've been told I do a good job of that. There has been times, guys are cussing at you, guys are yelling at you, guys are trying to get under your skin. And I just kind of laugh and smile. It's all I really do, because to me, that doesn't matter. I'm there to do my job. They're there to try and stop me doing my job, but that's not going to happen. So they're trying to get under my skin to make me do something stupid or have the penalty flag be thrown, but that's not what I'm supposed to do. So I just keep grinding, keep laughing, keep smiling, have the guys around me, and just keep pushing forward. It's not something that needs to be at least addressed after the whistle. But who knows, maybe I get a little bit of an extra plop down on the pancake if I can get them on the ground, or when I get them on the ground. So
yeah, most definitely, man. It's pretty much like you're just getting them pancakes for them for them all the time. So it seems like they are getting tired of you pushing them down.
Yeah.
But as far as like your cheat meal, man, what would you have for a cheat meal? Some athletes can just take a little off the health a little sometimes, man.
I'm a huge ice cream guy. I love ice cream. But I know for me, my cheat day, if I'm really going to go crazy. Now, if I did cheat meals when I was doing pro day training, but those cheat meals were I just kind of stepped away from the chicken and rice for a little bit and just did like steak and rice. You know what I mean?
Steak and rice, okay.
Because I was working towards a goal. But if I'm having a complete off day and there's, it's like in the off season or something, and I can have that day of just relaxing and having a good time, I'd probably have some sort of Mexican food. You can't go wrong with some guac and chips and a nice big burrito, and then maybe at the end having some ice cream. That sounds like a good time to me.
Oh, yeah, you like Mexican food, I see. So if you ever come down California or somewhere down the Bay or anywhere down here, man, you'll like Mexican food over here.
I've heard you have some good stuff over there.
I'm pretty sure you're not going to be disappointed, man. I even told that one dude, David Walker, the same thing, man. You're not going to be disappointed.
Yeah. What about you? What's your go-to?
What's my go-to?
Yeah, for food. What would you have?
That's a really tough one, man. I got to say pizza.
Pizza? Pizza's a good choice.
Yeah, pizza's pretty good. I mean, you can't go wrong with it. But yeah, dude, we're all human beings, like outside of the sports world and all that stuff. I used to play in the semi-pros once upon a time, but it was because of wasn't going to make it to the big leagues, but at least I tried,
Yeah, that's still a huge accomplishment.
Yeah, played through an injured ankle, man. That's all I could say, man. I was playing hurt.
Yeah, pushing through injuries is always something that's challenging, but especially us guys, we gotta keep pushing through. Can't show weakness.
Oh yeah, man, most definitely. But hey, man, I know that it's going to be worth the process, man. So I definitely appreciate your time. I know you're going to have a lot of training and you're going to look forward to the draft, man. I hope whatever happens, I'm definitely rooting for you to succeed, whether it's in San Francisco or those 31 teams, man. Let's hope that you have a good, successful NFL career, man. But for everybody else, man, go check out Ohio University offensive lineman, or should I say the most versatile, under the radar offensive lineman, Christophe Atkinson, man. He's the nicest, friendliest guy in the locker room that you got to have, man. He's going to uplift you. He's not going to bring you down.
Well, thank you, CG. I really do appreciate you taking the time to speak with me. I had a fantastic time on your show, and I definitely look forward to maybe one day we'll have another conversation, and who knows, maybe I'll be playing football somewhere. But I appreciate you taking the time to speak with me, and thank you so much.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And for everybody else, man, tell them where they can find your social media platform.
Yeah, my Instagram is literally just my name with an underscore in between. I know CG knows this, but I'm not the most active on Twitter. But it would just be Christophe_E_A. But I appreciate everyone being here and for watching. And check out CG Ruthless. He's the man.
Oh, yeah, man. Definitely appreciate it. And thank you guys for tuning in. And, hey, man, good luck on your journey.